Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Longbox Chronicles Month here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm taking a look at a made-for-TV movie from 1978. That movie is Doctor Strange. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. I haven't read a lot of Doctor Strange comics. I'm not that well-versed in the world of Dr. Stephen Strange. I don't know much about him outside of the fact that his name is Dr. Stephen Strange. He is the Sorcerer Supreme, and before he became the Sorcerer Supreme, he was a very talented and gifted surgeon. I picked up a little bit of that, well, I picked up all of his origin when I played Marvel Ultimate Alliance years and years ago. That game is fantastic. I've maybe read a dozen comic books that Doctor Strange has been featured in. I don't know a lot about the character. And because this is a Marvel film from the late 70s, I'm going to assume that it's similar to Captain America, Spider-Man, and, well, actually, the Hulk just started off as a show, but I'm going to assume that similar to Spider-Man and Captain America, this thing was probably a pilot for a TV show. And similar to Captain America, it failed at getting said TV show, but I'm not totally sure if that is just because nobody was interested in Doctor Strange or if this thing was just that bad. I'm really hoping to find out, though. I am genuinely curious if this thing is any good, and I'm about to find out right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Doctor Strange. Well, guys, I really can't say much about the movie itself, but I can say that the soundtrack's pretty good. The song almost sounds sort of like Tubular Bells, if Tubular Bells were played on a fucking electric guitar. That's really kind of cool. I actually am kind of digging this. So, let me see if I understand this. It's standard procedure to medicate every person who goes into the psychiatric wing of this hospital. Funny, I kind of sort of thought you would just want to give them meds based on what they need, not just because, oh, looky, you're here, I'm going to dope you up. Perhaps maybe I'm just thinking a little bit too deep into that, but it just seems a little messed up to me, you know? Wait. So, Doctor Strange's parents died to protect him because he has special powers. So, Doctor Strange is Harry Potter. Yeah, that's good to fucking know, guys. Doctor Strange thinks that evil is a curable condition? No, dude, it's not. If you're fucking evil, you're evil. It's that simple. I really don't think that you can cure being evil with a pill or with psychiatric treatment. But hey, perhaps maybe that's just me thinking a little bit too deep into all this. But last time I checked, evil is not fucking curable, okay? So they had to have a ceremony to turn Doctor Strange's robes into the robes we saw in the comics. You know what, guys? They actually pulled something very similar in the fucking Captain America movie from the late 70s, and I really thought it was stupid then. It's equally stupid here. But hey, at least on the plus side, we actually get to see the costume as it was seen in the comics. So, at least that's kind of a positive, I guess? Well, guys, that was Doctor Strange. I'm gonna shut that off. Okay. Well, I'd like to say, guys, that I do know a couple other things about this movie, which I didn't tell you guys before I started watching. I kind of wanted to save it for right now. Number one, this aired on CBS when it first, which kind of makes sense, you know, because CBS was basically the place where Marvel was dumping all of their live-action TV shows and movies. Because, as I stated in my review of Captain America 1979, in the late 70s we had a couple of Spider-Man movies, which led to a Spider-Man TV show. We also had the Hulk TV show, and this started off, or correction, this was made as a pilot in hopes of having a Doctor Strange show on CBS, and that didn't happen, probably because the ratings for this thing were in the toilet. And the reason why the ratings were probably in the toilet is because CBS, instead of picking a prime day to run this, ran it against Roots. Yes, guys, as CBS was running this, ABC was running Roots, a groundbreaking television miniseries event. Running anything new against something as massive as Roots is about as stupid as running something new against the fucking Super Bowl, okay? You just don't do it. And it's probably because of that, and because of the fact that the movie is a little bit dull, that this thing has become absolutely buried in fucking history, and most people don't even fucking know that there's a live-action Doctor Strange movie out there. Now, I guess I should try to explain why the movie's a little bit dull. Story-wise, since this thing was supposed to be a pilot for a TV show, it totally works out there, because we are introduced to our main to our main character, and we're given a proper origin story, and it kind of works out. And also, we also had the possibility of a potential recurring villain with Morgan. It was with Morgan Le Fay, because she comes back at the very end of the film, so on and so forth. It certainly does work out as a possible as a possible villain to come back if this were picked up as a TV show. So they had everything covered. They had all of their bases covered, and that's cool. Unfortunately, even though all of that was certainly solid, the actual story that's buried on this thing, or correction, the story that kind of stands out, is not that good. I'd like to say right now that every single one of these characters comes off as ridiculously flat, and you basically are either good or evil, and that's pretty much it. You have no personality beyond that. Or correction, you're either good, evil, or you're just there. And that, to me, is sort of a problem, because if you are trying to paint a universe and you want these characters to feel somewhat, alive, you really want to try to build them up a little bit more. The only thing which we learn about Dr. Stephen Strange over the course of this film is that he was destined to be the next Sorcerer, because his father gave him a ring. His parents died in a car wreck in order to protect Stephen Strange from evil forces that would be there to stop him from becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, which, as I stated earlier, essentially makes him Harry fucking Potter. Long before Harry Potter was even a thing, but anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that. And Doctor Strange is also working in the psychiatric wing of a hospital, and he apparently is the only person working in the psychiatric wing who actually gives a flying fuck about the patients there, because every other person who works in that fucking wing seems to be absolutely 100% focused on having empty beds in the fucking wing as opposed to treating patients. So again, that though is just sort of how these other characters come off, is when they're holding like a staff meeting, the only thing which they're talking about is how many empty beds they have in their fucking wing, and when they find out that they now have 7 empty beds, they almost all sound like they want to throw a fucking kegger, which tells me that instead of actually trying to treat people, especially in a large bustling city such as fucking New York, they care more about having empty bed, space, which I kind of thought that hospitals would care more about having those beds filled with patients who have to be treated. But hey, again, perhaps maybe I'm thinking a little bit too deep into this shit. Anyway, So yeah, that, guys, is sort of the problem here, is that every single character is just horribly flat. And then we also have the old sorcerer, who really has no personality outside of he wants to train Doctor Strange in the ways of becoming the sorcerer. And of course then there is his manservant Wong, who also is going to train Doctor Strange in the fucking mystic arts, this and that, so on and so forth. And those two are there just simply because you need them for the origin. And Wong was from the comics anyway, so you need to kind of work him in too. And Morgan is taking orders from this big demon, from this big nameless demon. I will talk about that demon in just, a moment. And they're really, and all of the dialogue between them is just horribly flat. In fact, there's a big issue in when it comes to writing here, is the dialogue is absolutely horrifically flat from everybody. So yeah, like writing here just kind of falters a little bit, because they don't know how to flesh out these characters, and they don't know how to make their dialogue sound, interesting or even, realistic. And thus the movie suffers for that. Now, shockingly, even though the dialogue is horribly flat, the acting isn't too bad. The acting's actually pretty good. I was kind of, surprised by that. Now, I'm not going to say that the acting was fantastic, and the acting was not going to win a fucking, Emmy, but then again, because it'd be going up against fucking Roots, but even if it wasn't going up against Roots, it certainly wouldn't be up for a fucking Emmy. But the acting here is serviceable, and that is the very least you can ask for, is that the acting be at least halfway decent. Now, I want to talk about special effects. Special effects here are for the most part pretty good, and that's because anytime that Morgan or the Sorcerer or Doctor Strange or Wong, I didn't know Wong had magic powers, but maybe if I read more, Doctor Strange comics, I'd pick up on that. All of them are just shooting beams from their hands, and also prior to that, their hands have a habit of glowing, and all that looks really good, okay? Like, all of that is done very, very well. In fact, special effects here are really good, even by late 70s TV standards, except for that fucking demon. Allow me to explain the problem involving that demon. Now, the demon is done with stop motion, which is just fine, except the stop motion is horrifically jerky, and I do understand that it is rather difficult to make very smooth stop motion, but people have shown that it is possible. The very fact that essentially the stop motion on this demon is just mainly on its head, and its head will go from one frame here to one frame here without having a spot in the middle to sort of show movement, and the whole thing is just kind of sort of like popping around a little bit. It looks horrible. But, shockingly, even though, they could not get head movement down to make it look natural, mouth movement is perfectly in sync with what the demon is saying, provided that the camera's close enough that you can actually fucking see that it actually has a goddamned mouth. Now, that is partially because the only way you can see this thing is to download it, and almost every download is probably based on the VHS copy of this thing which came out. So we guys are not talking about a very detailed picture here. And when this demon is seen from a wide angle, the only thing you see is just basically a general shape and eyes behind this thick smoky haze. And when it gets close enough, you can then see that it has this small little beak which moves perfectly with everything it's saying. So there is that. I would love to say that it is a miracle that they were able to get the mouth movements down that perfectly. However, it actually is just a little bit more shocking because they were able to do that, but they couldn't get basic fucking body movement down without it fucking looking like an absolute jerky mess. So really that one there is kind of sort of a mixed, so that one effect, that one character's entire, effect run is a huge mixed bag where everything else is absolutely spot on and solid when it comes to special effects. Sound mix here is pretty good. Music. I commented earlier about one piece of music which I heard, and it sounded really cool. I now no longer feel that way, because that song plays over about 60% of the movie, which means that we have the same problem that plagued, we have a problem that also plagued Requiem for a Dream, amongst a mountain of other problems, and that is that it keeps going to the same, it keeps on going to the same musical well again and again and again. And a song that might have been kind of catchy, or in this case incredibly cool, becomes incredibly grating and irritating because it's the only piece of music which they have. Now here they do have a few other pieces of music, but those are really only heard when they're jumping into the astral plane, and you have totally different music playing when they are in the astral plane. And then when they come back, it is right back to that fucking like rock cover of Tubular Bells that plays over the rest of the fucking movie, barring moments of total silence or maybe one or two other music cues that aren't that goddamn song. What I'm trying to say is perhaps maybe a little bit more variety in the music would have been great here. Because otherwise the film just comes off sounding horrifically bland, because it's the same goddamn song, and to me that is kind of an issue. I mean, otherwise, guys, the song, had it maybe played 2 times, 3 times, it would probably still be incredibly catchy to me. But now, after hearing it play at least a dozen times over the fucking 90-minute runtime of this movie, I never want to hear the fucking song again. I'm sick of hearing it. Otherwise, guys, beyond that, sound mix is done really well. Camera work here is pretty good. Shockingly, though, this thing does not look to be from the same people who worked on the Spider-Man, Hulk, or Captain America movies or, TV shows. This genuinely looks and sounds as if it was done by a totally different group. So we have a whole new look on this in terms of blocking, lighting, effects, camera work, sound mix. Everything here feels completely different, which is certainly a positive, because that means that amongst the pack of late 70s live-action Marvel movies and TV shows, Doctor Strange certainly stands out. I just wish it had better writing to kind of go with it. So, when all is said and done, am I able to recommend this thing? Oh boy, kind of no. Allow me to explain. This thing is certainly different, and perhaps maybe if you're a diehard fan of Doctor Strange, you may find a lot here. I'm not sure, because again, I'm not 100% certain how loyal this is to the source. So perhaps maybe if you're one of those people who is just a huge avid fan of Doctor Strange, by all means check it out. Otherwise, if you seriously want to watch it, you can probably find it on YouTube. You can probably find it for download somewhere. Check it out. But mind you, I'm going to tell you that you basically have to kind of tread, you kind of have to tread, lightly here, because I honestly was not able to find a whole lot here. However, there might actually be a little something here for, somebody else out there. So, you guys might actually have something really good here. However, I am not going to make any promises, and I'm not going to make any fucking guarantees. This thing is certainly not perfect, but it might be something that you might be able to get into. So I'm really sorry, guys, that I'm being kind of flaky when it comes to whether or not I can totally recommend this. But that honestly is sort of the thing, is just sort of that all the problems that I found here are problems that bothered me. But I really don't think that those problems would really impact other viewers. So So really, I can just say, if you guys want to check it out, go ahead, but I honestly am not going to make any promises about it being great. That's really the best I can do. It is very, very weird when I'm not able to give you guys a definite yes or no as to whether or not a movie is worth watching. Okay. Frankly, I honestly am not going to watch it again, but that's because I didn't really care for it. I didn't fucking hate it, but I didn't really enjoy it enough to want to watch it a second time. That's probably the best way I can sum it up. So anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.